Have you ever met a child who knew things they shouldn't know? A 3-year-old who describes a war they never studied. A little girl who points at a black and white photo and says, "That was my other mommy." These stories exist, thousands of them, documented, verified, and they break everything we think we know about death. Today we're diving into one of the most unsettling mysteries of human consciousness. Why do some people remember past lives, while the rest of us draw a blank? What separates the rememberers from the forgotten? And more importantly, could you be one of them without even knowing? Stick around, because what you're about to hear might rewire how you see your own existence. Let me take you to a hospital room in 1998. A 4-year-old boy named James wakes up screaming from the same nightmare night after night. He's being shot down in a plane. He can see the aircraft carrier. He knows the names of his pilot friends. He draws mechanical details of a World War II Corsair fighter with precision no toddler should possess. His parents, desperate, start writing everything down. The names, the locations, the specific details. Eventually they connect with a historian. Every single fact checks out. There was a pilot named James Huston. He died exactly the way little James described, on the exact aircraft carrier, with the exact same friends. James Leininger's case became one of the most thoroughly investigated instances of apparent past life memory in modern history. Researchers from the University of Virginia studied it for years. Skeptics tried to debunk it. They couldn't. But here's what keeps me up at night. James was 4. He hadn't watched war documentaries. His parents were devout Christians who didn't believe in reincarnation. There was no contamination, no hidden TV exposure, no family member feeding him information. Ian Stevenson spent 40 years asking that same question. A psychiatrist at the University of Virginia, he traveled across India, Lebanon, Thailand, and the United States, investigating over 2,500 cases of children who claimed to remember previous lives. Not adults under hypnosis, not people seeking spiritual experiences, children. Young children who spoke spontaneously, often before age 5, about people they'd never met and places they'd never been. Stevenson's methodology was brutal. He interviewed witnesses, he checked birth and death records, he looked for physical marks that corresponded to reported fatal wounds in a previous life. In hundreds of cases, the evidence held up. And here's the pattern that emerged. Almost all of these children started talking about their memories between ages 2 and 4. By age 7 or 8, the memories faded, almost completely, like a dream you can't quite hold on to in the morning. Think about that. If you've ever wondered why you don't remember a past life, maybe the real question is, did you forget before you knew you were supposed to remember? But Stevenson wasn't alone. His successor, Dr. Jim Tucker, continued the work, and Tucker noticed something fascinating. These children weren't random. They often shared specific traits: higher than average verbal intelligence, a tendency toward vivid imagination, but not fantasy. These kids distinguished clearly between their games and their memories. Tucker also found something that challenges our entire understanding of time. In the most compelling cases, the previous person had died an unnatural death. Murder, suicide, accident. The trauma seemed to act like an anchor, something that refused to dissolve into the void. Pain, it appears, leaves deeper grooves in consciousness than peace. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. If past life memories are real, why doesn't everyone have them? Why are you sitting there drawing a complete blank, while some 4-year-old in Sri Lanka is giving GPS coordinates to his former village? The answer might be simpler than you think, and more frustrating. Before age 7, the brain is in a state of heightened neuroplasticity. The blood-brain barrier is more permeable. The default mode network, the part of the brain associated with self-reflection and memory, operates differently. Children haven't built the rigid identity structures that adults carry. They haven't solidified the story of, "I am this person, born on this date with this history." They're still fluid, still open, still downloading reality without the firewalls. By the time we hit adulthood, we've installed layers of psychological armor, cognitive schemas, identity boundaries. The brain literally filters out information that doesn't fit our established narrative. A memory of being a 19th century farmer in Norway, your brain files that under dream, imagination, or weird thought, and you never think about it again, unless something breaks through. And that brings us to the adults, because some adults do remember, not the spontaneous childhood type, but through deep meditation, near-death experiences, past life regression therapy, psychedelic journeys, extreme trauma, moments when the usual filters crash. Have you ever had a dream that felt more real than waking life? A place you've never been but you knew every corner? A person you've never met but you felt love or grief so specific it had a name and a history? Carl Jung called these racial memories. Modern neuroscience might call them confabulations. But thousands of people report identical details under independent regression sessions. They describe historical periods with accuracy they never studied. They speak languages they've never learned. They carry phobias tied to specific modes of death that later research confirms. One woman, terrified of water her entire life, regressed to a memory of drowning in the Titanic. She described the ship's layout, the sound of the hull breaking, the temperature of the water, with documentary precision. She'd never been obsessed with the Titanic, never watched the movie repeatedly, but under hypnosis, she wept for people whose names appeared on the actual passenger list. Coincidence? But how many coincidences stack up before they become a pattern? Here's another angle that most people miss. Quantum physics has been flirting with consciousness for decades. The observer effect, non-locality, entanglement, particles that maintain connection across impossible distances, information that seems to exist outside of space and time. Dr. Robert Lanza, a renowned stem cell researcher, proposed something radical: biocentrism, the theory that consciousness isn't produced by the brain. The brain is more like a receiver, a radio tuned to a specific frequency. When the radio breaks, the station doesn't stop broadcasting. You just can't hear it anymore. If consciousness is fundamental to reality, not an emergent property of meat and electricity, then the idea of it persisting after death isn't mystical, it's logical. And if it persists, why wouldn't fragments occasionally leak through into a new receiver, a new brain, a new life? Some people just have better reception. Look at the evidence from another angle. Birthmarks. Stevenson documented hundreds of cases where children had birthmarks or birth defects, corresponding to fatal wounds from their claimed previous life. A boy with a malformed ear, remembering being shot in the ear. A girl with a scarred neck, remembering strangulation. Medical records, when available, matched. How do you explain that with cryptomnesia? With hidden memories absorbed from books and conversations? A birthmark is physical. It's DNA level. Unless you're suggesting these children somehow psychosomatically altered their own fetal development based on stories they heard, which would be a miracle in itself, the explanation starts pointing in one direction. Consciousness carries information, and sometimes, that information is written on the body. But let's be real for a second. Not every claim of past life memory is genuine. For every James Leininger, there are 100 people who watch too many historical dramas, who want to believe they were Cleopatra or Napoleon, who construct elaborate fantasies to feel special. The human mind is a storytelling machine. It loves narrative. It hates randomness. That's exactly why the childhood cases matter so much. These kids aren't trying to be special. Most of them are confused, distressed. They miss their other family. They grieve people who, according to their birth certificates, never existed. They don't want attention. They want resolution. And when researchers track down the families they describe, when independent witnesses confirm details impossible to know, when birth and death records match statements made by toddlers, the fantasy explanation starts looking thinner than the alternative. So why some people and not others? The research suggests several factors: traumatic death in the previous life, a short interval between death and rebirth, geographic and cultural proximity. Most children remember lives near their current location, and something researchers call behavioral continuity. The child often displays personality traits, preferences, and even skills from the previous life. A child remembering a musician's life shows unusual musical aptitude. A child remembering a tailor's life handles scissors with eerie precision before being taught. These aren't just memories, they're carryovers, residual patterns in consciousness that somehow survive the transfer. And here's the wildest part. Some researchers believe we all remember, we just don't recognize the memories. That irrational fear of heights, that instant connection with a stranger, that inexplicable skill you picked up in weeks that takes others years, that place you've never visited but somehow know? What if those aren't quirks? What if they're echoes? The Tibetan Buddhists have been saying this for millennia. They believe most people are blinded by the bardo amnesia, the forgetting that happens between death and rebirth. But advanced practitioners train to maintain awareness through the transition. They meditate on death while alive. They familiarize themselves with the dissolution of consciousness. They prepare for the journey. and they claim that with preparation, you don't have to forget. You can carry wisdom from life to life, like luggage you're actually allowed to keep. Whether you buy the metaphysics or not, the practical implication is striking. If consciousness can be trained, if memory can be preserved, if the transition between states can be navigated with intention, then the question isn't just why some people remember. It's why most of us never learned that remembering was possible. Let me leave you with this. Right now, as you watch this, your brain is processing millions of signals, filtering, editing, constructing a coherent story called you. But that story is fragile. A bump on the head can change your personality, a chemical can dissolve your identity, a dream can convince you that you're someone else entirely. If the self is that fluid in one lifetime, why would it become permanent at death? The evidence for past life memory isn't just in the research papers, it's in the structure of consciousness itself. In the way we learn, in the way we love, in the way some things feel like coming home, while others feel like exile. You might not remember your past lives, but maybe, just maybe, your past lives remember you. And every now and then, in a dream, in a déjà vu, in a love that makes no logical sense, they whisper. The question is whether you're listening. If this made you question everything, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more videos that connect the dots between science and the mysteries they don't teach in school. And drop a comment. Have you ever experienced something that felt like a memory from another life? Let's talk about it below. Because the truth is, we don't know what happens after death. But the evidence that something does, that something carries over, it's stronger than most people realize.